on Thursday. I mean, not Thursday. Today is Thursday. Duh. On Tuesday, we talked about that we were going to follow up our session from Tuesday with developing good trading habits. That's what we talked about, right? So let's do that. Let's get into what I feel is maybe the heart and soul of really trading. It's not systems, really. It's not. It's really it's really it's really us that could be the problem. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. I'm just going to talk, and if what I say is you, just keep looking forward and don't say, yeah, that's me, James, because this is what I'm going to talk about is just common amongst most traders. It just really is, and every trader I know has started out with this. The ones who become successful are the ones that really work on this, not necessarily a system. With everything I've learned over the last 4 years, I could tell you I could look at any system and learn it in 15 minutes. The battle is every day showing up, and basically, I mean, just really just getting yourself under control. And the only way you do that is to develop a habit of doing it. If you don't, just like you developed a bad habit of doing stuff you shouldn't be doing with trading, you can develop a good habit. That's how we're programmed. That's how our minds work. If we do something enough, it just becomes habit eventually. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, now the key to developing good trading habits is, first of all, stop what you're doing. Oh, James, there's no serious revelation on that. Well, I mean, think about it for a moment. It really is it's difficult, right? I mean, think about it. If it were easy, everybody would do it. But the first thing is you have to stop what you're doing. Now, what is it that you might be doing? Who knows? You may not be using correct position sizing. You may not be waiting patiently for a setup. You may not have a consistent time where you get into the market. You may have all kinds of systems that you try and follow at all different kinds of times. You may, just put the whole house on one trade. Whatever it is, that's the first key, is that we have to stop what we're doing. Okay, when I started coming to this revelation, things started to turn around for me in my trading, and I believe it'll do the same for you. If that's the first thing you have to do, you have to really recognize, okay, what the heck am I doing? What is it that I'm doing that is causing me these problems? Okay, and then from there, you have to start developing the right habits. Now, like I said, that's no deep revelation, but believe it or not, it is easier said than done. Okay, this is one of those things where we need to be doers and not just hearers. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about stopping what you're doing. Well, the first thing you have to get into is why you're doing what you're doing. Okay, now here's the first question. A lot of us, we do what we do when it comes to trading because we're just so anxious to make money. I mean, we are. And the question I had to stop and ask myself was, why am I so anxious? Okay, where am I trying to get to so fast? Why am I trying to get there so fast? And once I began to deal with that, then, I mean, it was, and I don't want to turn this into like, something spooky spiritual or something like that. That's not my intent here. My intent is really to, really get to the root of the problem of why we do some of the stuff that we do. And I don't think you can do that if you don't deal with the root of the problem. So, as I began to say, hey, why am I so anxious? What's going on? That's when I started to really understand, like, my whole mindset, how my whole mindset was just messed up, when it came to trading, my approach into trading, those kind of things. And I hope that by me sharing those things that'll be beneficial to you. So that's the first thing. Why are you so anxious? Why are you trying to make $1 million in 1 week? Okay, what if you accomplished your goal? Then what? Okay, what is the purpose for you doing it? And why do you keep messing up? Why do you keep doing the same thing over and over again? Okay, well, like I shared it before, I'll share it with you guys again on this webinar. As I started to really get into it and say, hey, you know, why am I so anxious? What's going on? What's the deal? That's when it's like I just started to say, okay, why do I keep doing this same dumb thing? I mean, I have, a time, man, I make like 20-30%, and then in like one day mess it all up. And it's like, okay, what the heck is going on, James? What's wrong with you? And so that's when I started to really peel back and say, okay, James, it's not the system. It really isn't. It's something going on in your head you got to deal with. You got to work at. And so that's when I started to peel back every layer. Okay, first of all, I'm too anxious. Some days I sit down, I'm anxious sitting here trading, James. Why are you anxious? Okay, on those days you shouldn't trade. Or you should demo trade. Or you should go take a jog around the block or something like that. Really get yourself settled. And then come back, analyze the market. But why are you so anxious? So from there I start peeling back. Okay, first of all, I'm so anxious because I don't want to be without provision or money. That's how I felt. And it's like, okay, why do you feel that way? Then I started peeling back and it was like, man, it got really deep. It was like, okay, I feel that way because I know what it feels like to grow up without provision. I know what it feels like to live in a house. And I'm probably really going to get a little bit personal here, but I'm doing it to show you, why I had the problems and what I had to work on and what I still have to continue to work on. I don't want to say it like I've arrived. It's a battle every day to be consistent. But growing up in a house where, you're talking about, we had holes in the wall. My mother, she passed when I was 2, so I had no recollection of my mother. My father, he was military dad, but he passed when I was 8. And you're talking about just growing up just poor. And so, just a whole mindset that developed around poverty, a whole mindset that had developed around, just hard times. I grew up, like I said, my father, he was a military father. So he was very strict. You work hard, you work hard, you get a good job, get good education, get good grades, those kind of things. So as I started coming into, making money over the internet and then eventually trading, it was like, wow, okay, I had a serious mind conflict there because I thought that in order for me to make a lot of money, I had to work a lot of hours or work very hard. Where, I started finding out that, okay, that started conflicting, particularly with the Forex, when I started making a lot of money in a little bit of time by clicking a few buttons. So the problem for me was that, okay, it dated all the way back to my childhood, is that the reason I was so anxious to make money is because I felt that there was some security in it if I did it, and it would not, it kept me from reminding me of what I had to deal with growing up. I mean, I don't want to get, all testimonial here, but I'm just saying, I'm telling you what the mindset was for me after my parents passed. Just was in a situation where, at 17, I was on my own. You're talking about living poor. It was like, man, the house that my parents had left to us was just messed up. It wasn't even livable. We had to do work in it just to make it livable. And I'm really bearing my soul to you here because I'm trying to show you how this plays into your trading, and I don't know what it is for you. I'm just telling you what it was for me. You're talking about, man, where, you growing up in that 17, I'm on my own. I had to grow up fast. And talking about the house that we lived in, it was barely livable. And to give you a sense of the level of poverty we was living on, we had to basically warm water up in a microwave, to wash up. And you're talking about, used to have to get, the plumbing, broke because the heat was out for 2 years. So, you're talking about survival. I had to run a line of electricity all the way up to one room and confine, me and my sister, because we was only 2 staying there, to one room and basically, keep us safe that way and heated that way. And then, because the plumbing broke, we used to have to like stock water up from the park, to flush the toilet. This is the level of